YouTube. The video shows the policeman opening fire, unprovoked, at the boy who was carrying a knife inside an empty tram. Ontario's Special Investigations Unit says 18-year-old Sammy Yatim died from multiple gunshot wounds. Angry protesters say the policeman used excessive force. They also call for justice for the young man and an end to police brutality. The Toronto police officer has been suspended with pay in the wake of the fatal shooting. Ontario's police are now conducting independent investigations. Joshua Blakeney is a correspondent who joins us from Calgary to tell us more about this. Joshua Blakeney, a couple things here. First of all, fresh off what happened with Trayvon Martin in the U.S., we know many people in Canada went out in support and, of course, against the ruling on Zimmerman. And here we have what has occurred, which was caught on tape. Tell us more about the sentiments of Canadians over this ruling that pretty much has set free this Toronto police officer.
Yes, I think increasingly Canadians are fed up with the kind of pro-criminalization, this kind of tough-on-crime agenda of the Harper government, which is putting the wind in the sails of the police who are walking around, some would say quite arrogantly, feeling almost as if they're above the law. And this has perhaps been exemplified in this slaying of this young teenager who was sitting on his own in a tram carriage. He was Syrian, he was of Middle Eastern stock, which should be noted. Perhaps he didn't speak English fluently. He was a young teenager who had an interest in knives, as many teenagers do. There were no other members of the public in his carriage, and he took a knife out. Now, I think in many societies, the initial step would be for the police to try and encourage this young person to put down the knives, to try and talk down the situation. Indeed, in many Western countries, until recently, the police didn't have guns. For example, in Britain, until recently, the regular bobbies didn't carry guns. But in North America, the police are very empowered these days. They're all armed with lethal weapons. And this is the kind of thing that happens. You end up with trigger-happy police officers who take the lives of young teenagers. And that's what happened in this instance. And that's why we're seeing members of, Torontonians seething with rage, taking to the streets to express their discontent with the overzealous reaction that we see time and time again by police officers in Toronto, in Canada, and more broadly in North America.
Thank you very much. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you, Joshua Blakeney. It's good to see you, a correspondent talking to us from Calgary. Family members and advocates are stepping up their support for the California prison hunger strike after an inmate died during the action. Advocates complained that the sad incident could have been prevented if prison officials had done more to negotiate with the hunger strikers. Pacific correspondent Ross Fraser has more from Los Angeles.